Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. It is early in the morning, and I'm ready to get jamming. Alright, so here, this is what we've got going on right now. You're thinking to yourself right now, Rich, this looks different. What did you do? You went in and you inked stuff while we weren't watching. That is true, I did. But I also recorded it, so it's okay. But anyway, I wanted to get back to this. The other video needs to be edited, and again, that's why I keep stressing. I've got a Patreon set up, and what I'm going to do is any of the funds I make from Patreon will go to the channel and things like editing software and all that. So anyway, yeah, there'll be a link in the description below. Please check it out. There's also free content on the Patreon already. So if you haven't been by there, check it out. I'm telling you, I'm posting little surprises as I move along. All right, so I had a question this morning about filling in blacks and paper buckling. I thought it was an interesting question. So towards the end of this video, I will fill in some blacks, but this is what I will say about paper buckling. If your paper is buckling when you're putting ink on it, wet ink, meaning like, you know, you're maybe filling in a large area of black ink with a brush and quite a bit of ink, more likely than not, it's the paper is bad. Alright? Because paper shouldn't buckle. Although, that said, I've worked on paper that is technically pretty good quality paper in terms of it doesn't tear. Was problematic. I'm just going in and outlining black areas right now. A lot of times I would actually do this with a rapidograph. I don't always go with a brush and fill in blacks. Just depends on the size of the shape. I haven't inked it all today, so I'm kind of just warming up with, again, what I would consider some simple things that I won't mess up on. You know, just for a few minutes till I get my focus and just, you know, you kind of feel like things are coming out good. Also, it is tricky for me to actually like do a YouTube video and work at the same time, because I generally don't talk if I'm working. So yeah, and it's very difficult for me to suggest paper right now because, to be 100% honest, I don't even know what the DC paper is, and it's not horrible. I'm inking on a marble piece right now because this was a commission done in 2007 by David Finch, and as you can see, it's on marble paper. This paper is okay. It doesn't tear much when I'm inking on it, but you know, most of this paper the companies buy and, like, you know, they get their logo printed on it, and I have to be honest, it was really difficult. Scott Williams and I, when the DC paper was having quite a bit of issues, you know, we would have them send samples, and there was all this confusion, and no one really knew even like where it was coming from. It was really weird. We had thought it was Strathmore, and then it ended up being Canson, and you know, so yeah, I mean, it's you would think that you could call someone and go like, what paper are we ordering? They didn't even know. So it's you know, no one's fault, because I don't think it's anyone's job. You know what I mean? Like, they order it as a supply, and it probably just comes in and has come in for years. And you know, who do you call and go like, who gets the paper? Like, where does it come from? You know, and they may get it from a secondary source too, like where, who knows? I mean, it's totally 100% possible that a company like DC or Marvel actually orders their paper from intermediary. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they get it from the Kubert School, and the Kubert School has got actually the paper connection. I don't know, you know, but nothing is that improbable. So I don't like how I'm inking the piece right now with these outlines, but it's good enough. I got enough down. When I do outlines like that, I actually give myself some breathing room to actually go in and do a different shape if I need to. So I'm not locked into the shape that I've put down. So I've wanted to fill in this. So I'm going to start filling in blacks. I'm a little worried that this is still wet. I'm going to just look here for a second. It is a little damp. Let me do some of these rendering lines. So again, I'm keeping it consistent with what I've already done, which is I've done a decent amount of the feathering on this piece with a brush. So I'm going to just stick with that. Thinking of the form as I'm doing it, and the planes, Yeah, this is risky. Normally I would totally go and work on something else for a minute or two, but the clock is ticking. I need that editing software. I actually was talking to my friend this morning about different options, and I told him, I need it right now for just really basic stuff and making sure the camera is in the frame. But yeah, and also follow me on Instagram. I'm going to start posting a little bit of stuff there. Get kind of back into that. I had kind of like dropped off of a few of the different things for a little bit just to take a break. But yeah, it was fun. I posted a little shot of the rocks that I did last night. But yeah, this piece is coming right along. I'm going to ink the face really soon. I don't like to leave faces too long into the piece, just because the more your hand is kind of rubbing around on the pencils and stuff, the more little, like the graphite sort of starts to slowly fade. So you want to, especially if it's a small face like that, you want to address it early on. But I hadn't inked much up here, so it didn't. My hand wasn't so much going over it, so that's why I wasn't really that worried or concerned about it, because we were working on everything that was kind of at the bottom of the piece more. He's got some little lines that go this way. Yeah, this is a commission. It's going to be in the pouring rain. Again, I'm taking all that into consideration as I'm inking it, so I'm pretty aware of there's going to be like a layer of detail that's going to go over this whole thing that will also be kind of a blending effect. There'll be a little splatter here and there, and all sorts of like neat things. To make sure there's a balance. It's the trick is you don't want to just go in and do a bunch of stuff that doesn't really benefit the full piece. You're working for the whole image. I kind of look at them more like paintings than drawings. So as I'm working on them, I'm kind of building up a painting, and it's essentially like you want to balance throughout the whole thing, hopefully. Brush ink dries quicker than crocol ink, so as long as you haven't laid down like a ton of brush ink, you should be pretty safe to go over it pretty quickly after you throw down whatever you're working on. It's funny, when I watch the videos back, this area would always catch my eye because it's just such a juicy black that's like dying to be filled in. So yeah, I finally got to do it. So this paper's got a little bit of a tooth to it, though. I'm pretty sure it's considered smooth board, but it's definitely a rough smooth. It's got a texture on it, for sure. Let's see. It's kind of an interesting shape here that I like. I'm going to keep it in. Yeah, sometimes when pencilers put a little anomalous things down, I'll kind of look at it. If I think it looks cool, I keep it. I learned that from Aaron Weisenfeld, if you know who that is. He was a penciler at Wildstorm that I was friends with, and he's a fine artist now. He does like pretty like surreal, realist paintings. Very, very talented. But yeah, he and I would talk about art, and I learned a lot from all these different artists that I worked around and with, and Wildstorm really just had a ridiculous stable of super talented people, and smart enough to talk to them, and ask them about their thoughts on art. And I'm glad I did it, because it really put a lot of good information into my head that you can't get anywhere else. And what's kind of cool about it too was I was able to ask these guys when they were in their prime, like they were learning it and they were applying it and it was working. And so I was always curious about, like, how did it start? How did it evolve? What worked? What didn't? You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be obnoxious about asking. It would, I would always, the friendship always came first. But when there was an opportunity that seemed natural to talk about that kind of stuff, most of them were more than happy to, kind of reflect on what they were up to. I think because they were, not that they were in the celebration zone, but you know what I'm saying? It's like they had figured it out and achieved it. So it was still fresh in their mind. So, that's one of the things that I have to offer that I think is really, really unique here, is that kind of insight. I mean, you can't buy it. In a book, except if they wrote the book, or I did. Okay, I think I am going to call it. And anyway, so yeah, there's no buckling going on with this paper here. I'll do this little area here. This paper is pretty durable. But the other thing that you can check is just make sure that your ink isn't too watery. And by water, I mean if it's going down and it doesn't really look black, then that could also be part of the reason that your paper is buckling a bit, is that ink is always liquid. I mean, so I don't want to be confusing, but if you look at my ink right now, this is morning ink, meaning I refreshed it a tiny bit with a little bit of fresh ink, but generally I leave my ink out all the time, and I'll have links in the description below where you can check out some of my setup. Yeah, I mean, ink, it has to flow, so there's a level of liquidness that it needs to have, but it shouldn't go down watery. Like if you're putting down black ink and it looks kind of like a 90% gray or an 80% gray, it's probably a little too runny. So you can leave it out. If you leave your ink out, it will thicken up, and then you just need to have a balance of that it actually is still liquidy enough to flow off of your tools. Like the balance. If my ink is too thick, it won't come off a brush. And actually, I think in the brush inking video, you can see that I struggle with that a little bit. It was also a combination of the paper, but it's a really, really good video to check out because there was a pretty cool revelation on it that kind of deals directly with that. So, all right, we're going to call this done here in a second, and said I hope that this was in frame most of the time. I want to get a little tripod for my desk so I can be shooting 2 angles at once. This is kind of fun. I might as well actually just do this. I feel the ink was a little tacky right here. It wasn't wet enough to actually smear, but like my hand was kind of just a tiny bit sticking to it. I'll give you a full shot of this in 1 second. Give me 1 second. And another thing too is I have tons of videos in the can right now, but it feels weird to go back and grab them. But I had recorded quite a bit of stuff when I was off YouTube that I haven't uploaded yet. So I've got probably anywhere from, I don't even know, 13 to maybe 22 videos of stuff that I was working on then. So, okay, here, give you a little view-to-D view. Oh man, hopefully I wasn't out of frame that whole time. I have a hunch I was. Shoot. We'll see. Alright, but yeah, so this is what we got going on right now. I'll pull the camera out out of this for a second and give you the... It's looking pretty cool. What do you think? It's got a decent balance to it. You know, that's the key, is a nice quality of balance. Try to get the autofocus on. I got the brush in my mouth, so sorry. Boom. Oh yeah, I don't know if I talked about it, but the way that David had the rocks at the bottom was really bugging me, so I went and actually kind of redrew some stuff because it just was like, it wasn't going to work with the shape he had there. So I adjusted it and made the rock a little more, let me get the brush out of my mouth, a little more like where it flowed with the piece better. So there you go. Okay, thank you for tuning in. Smash the like. I will be back later, tomorrow actually, with more. Okay, thanks. Bye.